All right, let's do it. My favorite kind of art are flawed things that are nonetheless, in my mind, masterpieces. Something that burns my personal experience with it into a core memory that I will hold on to for the fucking rest of my life. And mouthwashing is that kind of art. Originally, my plan was just to stream the game and shit out some video because, I keep seeing it pop up in some places, and maybe this is a trend. Why not hop on that trend and see what happens? And then I played the game, and oh boy, it left an impact on me immediately. And I haven't watched anybody else's content about this game. There's an interview with the creator that I haven't listened to because I just wanted to really talk about my experience with the game and what I thought about it. Now, this game includes graphic topics like death of various kinds and sexual misconduct, to put it lightly. So viewer discretion is advised, as well as spoilers, because I'm about to summarize this bitch. Mouthwashing takes place on the Pony Express cargo spaceship called the Tulpa. The very beginning of the game has you crashing the ship and going through this little weird section of walking through places and getting mascot horror scared. After this, you play the game as two different characters in different times, one of them being Curly, the captain of the ship before the crash, and Jimmy, co-pilot and acting captain after the crash. And the game leads you to believe that Captain Curly crashed the ship. Now, this game likes to jump back and forth in timeline between before the crash and after the crash, playing as the different characters. But to summarize the plot, I'm just going to go with the linear timeline of what happens in the game, because fuck it. Now, if you'd prefer to enjoy this game's story, how it is supposed to unfold, then you fucking buy the game and play it. I've already done it. I'm just making the video. Go play it. Come back to the video. Come back to the video, please. Now, with Curly's section, you start off 7 days before the crash, finishing up your psych eval with nurse of the ship, Anya, who has tried to do medical school many times, and it hasn't quite worked out, but she keeps trying, and now she's on the ship as a nurse. Anya laments the fact that she has to do Jimmy's psych eval, which he hasn't taken seriously, going as far as to make sarcastic, sexual, weird remarks sometimes as his answers. Curly decides to take this burden off of Anya and gets a emergency call to go to the utility area of the ship. Curly makes his way to utility, and outside waiting is Jimmy. They have a brief conversation, and then Curly enters, seeing Swansea, ship's engineer, and Daisuke, Swansea's assistant, and an intern on the ship. By the way, like I said before, I haven't looked up anything about this game, so I might be pronouncing their names wrong, but fuck it, we ball. Daisuke went up into one of the ship's vents above utility to make a repair that went wrong, and now a bunch of ship safety foam has sprayed out all over him, and Swansea can't get him out without the axe that is on the ship in the room, in a box with a code that can only be unlocked by Curly's code scanner. Code scanner is a device that lets you scan an invisible code, get said code, and use said code in places. We'll get to the gameplay later. It's not exactly the most riveting thing I've ever done, but you get the axe, you free Daisuke, you hand the axe to Swansea, tell him, get it back to me whenever you can after you get rid of all this foam, and you then tell Jimmy it's time for the eval. Curly goes to meet Jimmy on the bridge, and on the way, gets interrupted by a strange premonitory vision that is very pretty. Finishing up with this vision, we walk a long white corridor to a door, open it up, and we are in the bridge with Jimmy, where the psych eval takes place, and afterwards Jimmy and Curly decide to have a one-on-one talk about how they feel about their job off the record. Jimmy really likes it, saying that we're in control here. Curly, however, feels like he doesn't want to be bogged down doing the same thing forever. Now, it's great he's a cargo ship pilot and all, but the thought of that being all he'll ever be kind of scares him. He also noted about how Jimmy struggled back on Earth, and he's glad he's doing well on the ship now. And their conversation is interrupted by a message coming in from Pony Express via actually a fucking fax machine. Jimmy leaves the room. Curly goes to read the note, and then the next day happens. So 6 days before the crash, Curly goes to the ship's crew lounge, where there is a surprise birthday party being held for him. Kind of. The crew gets one collaborative joint birthday party every year. So every year they decide to surprise somebody else with when they're going to have it. And this year, it's Curly's turn. But he's the only one with a code scanner to get some ingredients and make a yummy ship's fucking recipe book cake. So you make the cake, you bring the cake over to the crew on the table, and then decide to spoil the birthday party by informing everybody that Pony Express, via that fax sent earlier, is basically going under. And after this job, they will be paid, but that is it. They are done after this job. The crew is upset by this, wondering about what they're going to do afterwards. Especially Jimmy, who is very upset and practically throwing what Curly and him discussed earlier privately in the cockpit in his own face, as if, oh, this is really convenient for you. Now you got your way out and you can feel good about it and you can leave us and yada, yada, yada. Totally not projecting. I'm getting ahead of myself, though. They decide to just get on with the spoiled party, and the next time we play as Curly and Anya are sitting in the crew lounge looking at a giant view screen they have in a nice cloudy night sky. Anya talks about how she thinks it's very peaceful and there's a dead pixel in the corner. It's very nice. And then she asks Curly why there are locks on the medical bay, but not on the crew quarters. Curly answers, safety, probably. And then we cut to a day before the ship's crash. Curly is looking for the ship's only gun, a gun that is kept in a case with a code that, of course, only he has access to. And after looking around for a while, makes his way to the cockpit where he finds Anya distressed. Curly asks Anya what she did with the gun. She tells him she hid it because she's worried about Jimmy getting it. And don't worry, Captain, she's not going to hurt herself with that gun because, well, she doesn't have the code anyway. But she just wanted to keep it from Jimmy. And then she tells Curly that she is pregnant. And it is very much implied in this game to the point of, well, obviously this is what happens, or happened, rather, that I'm assuming sometime after the news broke about their job, that Jimmy raped Anya, and now she's pregnant with Jimmy's child. Curly's distressed. She's obviously distressed. And the next day, Anya tells Curly that she has told Jimmy about it, and Jimmy didn't react very well. Curly is obviously freaking the fuck out and insists to Anya that he can fix this, and goes to Jimmy and also insists to Jimmy that together, the two of them, can fix this. Curly goes very soft on Jimmy, it seems like, to say the very least. And Jimmy's busy basically throwing all of this also in Curly's face, because since Curly's the captain, this rape is on him because he's in charge of the crew. So I don't know exactly what is being said here. I'll let you watch this next scene because I find it a little bit confusing to put together. I'll give you what I think after I play it. This is the break where I play it. Oh shit, I didn't break. Fuck! It feels like to me that because Curly and Jimmy have been friends for a long time, and Jimmy kind of getting in Curly's head, that Curly freezes up in a way, unable to stop what Jimmy is about to do. And what Jimmy is about to do is crash the ship, because Jimmy crashed the ship. The alarms go off, and Curly runs towards the cockpit, seeing Jimmy having a little mascot horror moment in his own head, asking what he did with no reply. And as Curly makes his way to the cockpit, he gets a face full of ship crashing on possible planetoid or asteroid or moon thing. After the crash, we pick up 2 months later where we're playing as Jimmy, and oh boy, yeah, we're playing as a psychopathic rapist who tried to kill everybody. Cool. To be fair, this was the next part after the crash segment you play through in the game, so you're actually not aware that this is who you're playing as. Like I said before, it's implied that the captain is the one who crashed it, seeing as everybody believes it's the captain who crashed it, and they don't know why. So, 2 months after the crash, the crew is discussing the idea of opening up the cargo hold area, which has been locked by, you guessed it, a code only accessible by the captain's code scanner. They figure there might be some supplies in there that would be very helpful in their current situation. Got a beard hair in my mouth there. And Jimmy finds the code scanner in the cockpit. After speaking with Swanzia, who tells Jimmy to go get Anya, who is in the medical bay, Jimmy goes to the medical bay to find Anya there with Curly. You're looking great, Curly. Keep it at it, man. So glad you can't speak, said Jimmy, because, ooh, that would be bad for Jimmy. Anya asks Jimmy to give Curly his medicine, his painkillers, and Jimmy complains and then does it. He's a pill, motherfucker. Fuck you. How dare you think you're better than me, even though I think I'm better than you. After this, they all meet up in front of the cargo area, and after punching in... That was a car. After punching in the code and opening the cargo hold, the crew finds that, oops, all mouthwash. The entirety of the cargo bay is full of Dragon Breath mouthwash. A mouthwash that Anya notes has such a high sugar content that it's practically useless. But Swanzia disagrees because it's got alcohol in it and it's time to get lit! Another amount of time after the crash, I forgot to write it down and I don't give a shit enough to look at it right now. Play the game. Jimmy is woken up by Curly being a real bitch about his current physical, emotional, and everything position. So Jimmy goes to ask Anya if Curly's been given his painkillers yet before he gives them those painkillers. He finds Anya and Swanzia in the cockpit having just a discussion. probably nothing about like a whole rape that happened or anything. And Jimmy finds out that no, Anya has not given Curly his pain medication. So Jimmy does it, and then we pick up 4 months after the crash. Where Daisuke is having a real lit moment on the floor, close to probably passing out, and he hands Jimmy the mouthwash bottle he's drinking because he just can't take this shit anymore. Well, drink this shit. It's disgusting. The kid's fucked. They're all fucked. He's fucked. This whole situation's fucked. Jimmy goes to the crew quarters to find Swanzia getting jiggy with it, and Anya looking at a bottle of mouthwash, maybe considering doing a little drinking of it. Jimmy goes to sit down next to Anya, and Anya gets a little spooked, which is ooh, a little scare. Nothing like a little trauma, you know? Anya tells Jimmy that they're low on painkillers, but she believes there's more in a little medical cabinet in front of the medical bay, but it's covered in foam. But if they could just get the axe from Swanzia, they might be able to get to that fucking box. So Jimmy goes to Swanzia, has a little discussion, and Swanzia, upset about Jimmy ruining the moment and wanting the axe that he's dancing with, and I don't know, probably like a whole rape thing. Angrily buries the axe into the view screen. Come on, Swanzia! As if Anya hasn't gone through enough. She liked that thing, man. Come on! Jimmy takes that axe, uncovers that medical box, gets all the painkillers, and Anya asks again for Jimmy to give Curly his medicine. Jimmy then incessantly bitches about all the mundane shit he's had to do the entire time that we've been playing as him, as if, oh man, only I'm the only person doing anything. Well, you definitely did one very notable thing. Well, two, I guess it's two. So he goes and jams that medicine in Jimmy's fucking mouth. And, yeah, then we pick up a little bit later. 5 months after the crash, or 4, I think it was 5. Nah. I swear I love this game. I'm just really lazy. Daisuke comes up to Jimmy and is like, Anya's stuck in the medical bay. So Daisuke and Jimmy go to the medical bay and have a discussion with Anya, who, isn't stuck. She locked the door and is saying things like, this won't be my worst moment. By the way, this entire game, Anya's been saying this thing of, our worst moments don't define us. Probably a way for her to try to cope with Jimmy and their situation. But she's saying this isn't her worst moment. And Daisuke and Jimmy are notably afraid because something might happen to Curly or to Anya herself. So they go to get the key to utility from Swansea. Now, Swansea's had utility locked down this entire time because he says that it's full of foam, and trying to cut all that stuff out of utility might break through the walls and, pressurize and fuck up the entire ship and kill them all. So they go to him like, can we get the key? And he's like, no. So Daisuke and Jimmy cook up this idea to drug Swansea with a cocktail mixture of mouthwash and isopropyl alcohol that was also in that little fucking medical thing where they got the more painkillers from. They gave him the drink, and Swansea passes out, and Daisuke's like, whoa, dude, he, fucking totally hit his noggin when he was going down, bro. And it's like, yeah, that sucks. Anyway, let's go to utility. We gotta figure out what the fuck is going on in medical. And upon entering utility, Daisuke and Jimmy realize, oh, there's not fuck tons of foam in here. There's some foam, but there's not a crazy amount of foam, and one of these cryopods, these cryostasis pods that they could use to be in for about 20 years, is free. And they're wondering, mostly Jimmy's wondering, but Jimmy's wondering if maybe Swansea had some plans for himself with that thing. But anyway, Jimmy asks Daisuke to go through this very safe looking vent that connects to medical. I forgot to mention that. I'm terrible at this. The whole point of going to utility is there's a vent in utility that also leads to medical. It's this broken vent we've seen in medical pretty much the whole game. And Jimmy asked Daisuke to go through this very safe vent with exposed electrical wires that are sparking. And Daisuke being like, and Jimmy being like, you must, for saving everyone or whatever the fuck. And Daisuke's like, okay, dude, I could do it. Goes in there. Something fucking happens to him in there that fucks him up. And he gets to the other side where he exclaims, Anya, what did you do? Or something like that. Jimmy and Swansea, now feeling better-ish, enough to be conscious, they take Daisuke to the crew lounge and lay him down on one of the little bedrolls there. And Daisuke ain't looking so good. Daisuke looks like dying. Possibly. Jimmy insists that there must be something they could do, and Swansea is like, well, we've got that alcohol, we can disinfect him. And Jimmy's like, yeah, ooh. Oh, and it's also your fault that we gave it to you, Swansea. So they go to look for something different. If you walk into medical with Swansea, he tells you to go look somewhere else because he's already looking in there. And also in the room, there's this, in the left corner towards the front, there's this really big smudge effect obscuring whatever happened in the room. We still don't know yet. And Jimmy goes to the cargo area, scans a gravestone with his code scanner, and enters into this little game where you walk through this weird version of the cargo hold area, and there's like a purple horse thing that's invisible unless you're using the code scanner, that you can't be too loud when walking or else it'll come towards you, and it's mostly indicated by these shaking boxes. And I fucking hate this part. I'll get more to that later, but you get to the end of it, you get the mouthwash, and you try to use it as a Daisuke disinfectant, which doesn't work. He's still dying. So Swansea takes the axe and mercy kills Daisuke, puts him out of his misery. Jimmy's pissed. He believes that there could have been something done for Daisuke, but Swansea is like, you're fucking delusional. He was fucked up. You're gone. And Jimmy's like, well, that's what you wanted anyway. All of us to die off so that you can go on that lone cryopod. In which Swansea tells him, I know some secrets too. Why don't you go ahead and get in that fucking pod? I don't give a shit. So Jimmy does the very rational thing and goes to get a gun. the gun. He finds the gun in the medical oh, fucking shit. The medical bay is no longer obscured, and this is where we see that Anya has committed suicide by overdosing on the painkillers. Yeah. Yeah. So Jimmy gets the gun that was hidden underneath the bed that Curly is currently laying on. Probably having a great time seeing everything that's happening. And being in a shit tons of pain. And after putting in the code and getting the gun, Curly just starts laughing at this whole scenario. And Jimmy goes to go find Curly. Not Curly. Jimmy goes to find Swansea, and upon leaving the room, Swansea is coming at him with the axe. So Jimmy runs to the cockpit and finds a way to capture and tie up Swansea. And then Jimmy shoots Swansea in the face, obviously killing him. Jimmy then takes Curly to the lounge dining table, lays him on it amongst the three corpses of Anya, Swansea, and Daisuke, who, of course, while sitting down, spring to life and are congratulating Jimmy on how great of a leader he is. Jimmy berates Curly about shit and basically high and mighties his ass. And then proceeds to, he's got to feed everybody something on this little party. So he, you cut off Curly's leg. His right leg, left leg, you cut off a fucking leg. You cut off Curly's leg and serve everybody a nice, tasty piece of Curly leg. Then you go through a gameplay sequence, which I believe is probably, representative of Jimmy's mental state. You play through a ventilation shaft section representative of Daisuke. You play a section where you shoot Swansea, and then there's a fun let's feed Curly his leg mini game, followed by a weird fetus baby ultrasound moment with for Anya. It's a horror game where there was somebody who was pregnant. If there's a pregnant person or a baby involved, there's gonna be weird baby shit, and there's some weird baby shit. And finally, Jimmy has a little conversation with the Pony Express mascot, and he comes to terms with everything he's done, in a way, I'm sure, because he still has this delusion where he believes that he can redeem himself by placing Curly in the last stasis chamber. Jimmy puts Curly in the stasis chamber, feeling in some way redeemed, as he goes to turn on the chamber and then shoot himself. The ending of the game, you play as Curly sitting in this chamber, head able to move somewhat, until it's not anymore as the credits roll. And that's the end of the game. The bulk of what makes Mouthwashing amazing to me is its story and its characters. And if this were a show or a book or some kind of story or video, whether in forms of a show or something on YouTube, that would be all I'd have to talk about. However, this is a video game. So let's talk about gameplay! Yeah! Let's rise up, gamers! It's time to talk about gameplay and all that gameplay shit, how fucking cool video games are! How was the gameplay? Meh. I could absolutely say that the gameplay of Mouthwashing is bare bones, at least. You can walk, pick up things, interact with things, shoot Swansea, use the code scanner to scan codes, punch in codes, shoot Swansea, walk very slowly through this bullshit that I have no patience for because you gotta stop when the boxes rumble. Woohoo! Fun! Shoot Swansea, ultrasound this fucking thing with the chickens and a baby, cut off Curly's leg, feed him the leg. Actually, I liked that part. Shoot Swansea again. It's not exactly StarCraft in its complexity, but yeah, it gets the job done, and I did like some of it. Using valves to fuck with Curly's insides in order to properly feed him his leg was neat, and I like shooting Swansea. But the gameplay is only okay. But do I really give a shit? No! Because I love the story and the characters, and that's the point I'm trying to make with this video. We all should know that you don't have to make everything perfect in order to make something great. Sometimes things in it can, be only okay or fucking suck. Like the boxes thing. I'm not over it. I don't like that part. I'm probably just a big, dumb, impatient dipshit, but But whatever it is you're really trying to put out there, whether it is a great story or great characters or great gameplay, there's plenty of games I really like the gameplay of and couldn't care about the story. Shadow of Mordor is one of those. So for anything in the gameplay that is lackluster to me, it's way overshadowed by things about this game that I love. Using a code scanner to scan codes and put in codes isn't the most intuitive and challenging gameplay I've ever been through, but I mean, that's how you get the gun in front of Curly and he laughs at you, and I thought that moment was really cool. Even outside of gameplay, why is there this vision of Jimmy or Curly, I'm not sure who, probably Jimmy, I don't fucking know, but one of them has this vision in the cargo area of this CRT TV, much like this fancy fella right here, playing some cartoons, and actually not quite like this fella right here, more of an old-timey one with a dial and everything, really antiquated shit. But why? I guess there's a fax machine in the game, but why is there an old-ass TV like this here? We haven't seen anything like it in the game. It feels kind of like, oh, this is, a modern thing that's cool because of analog horror or anything else. I don't know if that's why they put it in there, but it feels antiquated. But look how pretty that is. Why did Curly have a premonitory vision on his way to see Jimmy when Jimmy's the one who's fucking out of his mind? I don't know. But look how pretty that is. Why do I have to deal with this fucking box section again with the fucking slowing down? Whatever. Fuck it. I get to shoot Swansea later. Mouthwashing to me is a wonderful reminder that you don't have to be perfect to make somebody feel something. And this game made me feel something. Made me feel sad and fucking scared. Seeing Daisuke, a chill guy just trying to figure out his way in life, mercy killed, fucking sucks. And as much as I joke about shooting Swansea, I do like his character, and I love this monologue he has before Jimmy shoots him, where he talks about how he gave up drinking and tried to turn his life around and do the right things, but it didn't really make him happier, and well, now he's just dying to some fucking psycho. It's too bad I shot him. And Anya, who's tried so many times to get into the medical field and has an outlet on the ship, at least as a nurse, and goes through horrible, horrible trauma because of Jimmy, Seeing what she did to herself, well, it's depressing to see all of this. And what's worse is that Curly could have stopped it. If he just put his damn foot down harder on Jimmy, maybe this could have been prevented, but instead, he didn't. He and the entire crew suffered for it. He lives with that horrible mistake in a prison of a body that he is now stuck in. And of course, the worst person among them all is Jimmy. The Tulpa crew are ordinary people. They're not extraordinary. They're not heroes. They're just people trying to do their job. And among them is a monster just waiting to snap. I don't even want to talk about Jimmy. I fucking, what a piece of shit. Jimmy is a delusional, selfish, cowardly man. If you want a better deep dive on the analysis of his character, I highly encourage you to, seek it out. I'm sure other people who have done bigger talks about this have done so, but you got to walk away from this game hating Jimmy, and I just don't want to dedicate that much of the script talking about him. Fuck Jimmy. The reason this game makes me so fearful is the grounded reality of ordinary people in a worst case scenario dying for no good reason, which is very real. All of Daisuke's youthful hope and enthusiasm, it didn't matter. All of Swansea's attempts to better his life, it didn't matter. All of Anya's effort and horrifying trauma, it didn't matter. Does Curly deserve to live a life mangled and forever horrified by the events of the Tulpa? I don't know. But it didn't matter. It happened anyway. If you have a really good idea, you should make it. It doesn't matter if it's flawed, because it might just be a masterpiece. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please like, comment, and subscribe. I'm always working on a bit of music. I'm working on an album right now. I plan to make other kinds of videos in this style or in the Sex King style. I'm just going to be making whatever the fuck. So yeah, stick around, and thank you for watching, and hopefully see you next time. Goodbye!